some Halloween pumpkins out of fiberglass and foam, only because the cost of these things works out to about $20 to $23 each. So for something that lasts a week, really quite expensive here in Australia. So I thought, let's find a way to make something that lasts at least for 3, 4, 5 years, and we can reuse every year. So we've just bought ourselves a Halloween pumpkin. We've cut it in half with a saw, and we're going to make 2 fiberglass moulds out of this. I'm going to, once the fiberglass moulds are set, we're going to then put them together and fill them with a pourable foam to make the jack-o'-lantern. Alright, let's get started. So first we're going to prepare our base. That's run out of batteries. First we're going to prepare our base. I'm just using a piece of glass that I've had here for some other projects. And we're going to put some release wax. Now, I use a number of different products. This is one in particular that I use. Works great. It's a fantastic release agent. And it's there to stop the fiberglass sticking to the surface we're working on. Now, something else to note as well, because today's quite a cold day, they're actually running a heat lamp. What's up here? A 2000 watt heat lamp, just to keep this area warm, and also for the reaction that occurs during the chemical reaction that occurs during the epoxy setting. Alright, so that's that. Now, I'm just going to wipe off a bit of this excess. Not that it matters too much for us, because we don't care really what this looks like. It's more just a release. Alright, so we're going to put our 2 pumpkin halves down. They're going to look like so. Alright. Now we need to cover these in a epoxy resin as well. Do you want to go get that? So we're going to use another release agent. We're just finishing the last one off now. Wonderful. Okay, great. So that wax is going to get nice and dry and sticky. Alright, and we're now ready to basically mix up our resin and use our fiberglass sheeting. So I'm going to use a chopped fiberglass sheet, and we're going to probably do about three coats over these, each one, just to make sure we've got enough stiffness in the mould so we can reuse the mould. I'm going to use some infusion resin that I've had left over from a different project, and this is a mixing ratio of 100 to 26 by weight. So for all those that really can't get that, 100 grams and 26 grams hardener. I use scales to try and keep this as accurate as possible. Now, you really want to be doing this on a day where your temperature is going to be over 20 degrees, but I've got lights here, so it's not too bad. This came 100 mils, so I need to put 26 mils, so by 2, basically we're going to go 52 mils. Okay, that will do, right? Okay. Now, I'm going to give this a bit of a a mix. We're pretty much ready to go now. With a lot of other things I do, I'd normally wait till the bubbles come up, and you can also put a bit of flame on this, like a little blowtorch to help get the bubbles out. But for what we're doing here, I'm not even going to bother with that. It's just going to, you know, go straight on top with the sheeting. Now, I am going to put a little bit on here. Not that this is necessarily needed. Normally I'll just dab the material on top. So I'm cutting the sheets, the mesh, into sheets, and I'm crunching it up to get rid of the stiffness, and then I'm basically layering it in layers, right, like so. Now, we need to make up some more resin, so I'm about to do that, and then we'll continue all the way down. There's about about 2 layers on this so far. We're going to do 3, but between the second and the third, we're going to put some nuts into this flange that we've created, and that's how we're going to actually bolt the products together when we're done. One side's going to have the flange, and the other side's just we're going to put screws into it to keep them together. So, back in a second. Alright, so we've put down 2 coats of this fiberglass mesh. Now, I've put down some nuts on top of this second layer, and now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put a 3rd layer on top of, just to hold it into place, because really what we want is the underside, the thickness of the underside, to be the supporting factor for the bolts. When the other part of the pumpkin's done, we're going to line these up, drill some holes into that, and then we're going to use some washers to basically come in and grab into these to keep the moulds together while we do our resin work. We could quite easily just use some clamps. You could even cast some pieces of small timber in here and then screw them together that way. There's a number of ways you could do it. This is just easy for me. I've found some bolts lying around, so I'll give this a try. There's no right or wrong. Alright, so we want to make sure that that's nicely impregnated. Turn that clear colour like it has here. Okay, push that around there. Good. Alright, good. And that's it. Alright. I've got a few more to do. So we'll continue these and we'll get started on the other half. Alright, so I've come back today and demolded the pumpkin out of these moulds, and it's actually turned out really good. So I've spent a little bit of time just cutting down with the grinder all the rough edges that were left to create a bit of a lip. Cut a hole in the bottom where I'm going to fill the foam, and when I had the hole cut, I've lined up the two halves and drilled up some holes for those bolts to match in, so I can clamp that together. Now I could have just used clamps on this, but I had the screws lying around, so I thought I'd just put them in. So I'm going to now put some mould release on the inside of this and close it up, and we're going to fill it with foam and see how it turns out. So I'm going to use this Dalcam GFP32. You could go a harder foam if you really wanted to. This is going to produce a foam similar to this, so it's going to be quite solid. You're still going to be able to carve out a nice little eye and things like that, so it should work quite well, and it's not too hard to work with a knife. You can use a standing knife or a butter knife with this. Now, I've prepared the mould. We've put the release agent on the inside. Now we're going to mix up our polyurethane foam. Now this, for this size, we're going to need about 200 mils of each A and B. There. You've got to work very quick with this, because this will want to go off very quickly. Use your mixer, just a hand drill. Get that in. But we'll just see how it expands, and if need to, we can pour a little bit more in. Alright, some time's passed. It's been about 40 minutes now, and we're going to pull this mould apart. I'm going to use quite a wide head screwdriver, and what I'm going to do is wedge it into here and then turn it to the side to pull them apart. That way we don't break the integrity of the mould itself. Now, what usually happens is always one side that will come off. It's going to be easier than the other. And in this case, this has happened. Alright. There we have it. Pumpkin. Alright, so this is going to take some time, so we'll get back to it once I've got it out. Alright, there it is. One foam pumpkin. We clean up the edges. That is how you make a foam pumpkin. Now, there's a few things that you can do with these. You can either use a hole saw, slowly get it to the bottom and drill it out. Or you can leave the bottom as is and come in through the top like a traditional pumpkin and carve it out like you would. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to put some masking tape on here, the shape of the eyes and the mouth. Then I'm going to paint the whole thing black around that. Afterwards, I'm going to then paint a grey coat, a light grey coat over that black. And once that's all dry, I'm going to peel off the masking tape and it's going to leave the eyes and the mouth. Alright, I'm going to show you how to paint up these foam pumpkins. This one I've already put a coat of some tape on to make out the mouth cutting. Like so. And then I've painted it in black and then some grey on top of it. And now what I'm going to do is actually go over the whole lot in orange. Alright, so I've painted the whole thing orange now. This is still wet, so what I'm going to do now is grab a bit of green paint, sort of a medium green, doesn't matter, you can go a bit darker if you like, and just go in between like so. Alright, so I've let that dry for about 5-10 minutes. Now I'm going to get this orange again. I'm just going to make sure there's not a lot of paint on it. And then I'm going to start in the orange sections and then fan it out into the other sections. Like so. Okay. There you have it. One finished Halloween pumpkin. Hope you guys enjoyed it.